People always said Aiyana was born too big for this world. When she first came into it, wrapped in blood and breath beneath the cottonwood trees, the women whispered, and the men looked away, unsure whether to bless her or fear her. She grew fast, too fast. By the time she was 12, she carried loads meant for grown warriors. By 16, she could lift a man onto a horse without effort. And by the time her hair was streaked with early silver, the tribe had learned something dangerous about her. Aiyana would never complain. She would never ask. She would never demand to be loved. And so slowly, love stopped being offered. She lived on the edge of the Apache settlement, not by command, not by exile, but by habit. The strongest trees grow where the wind breaks them first. Her lodge stood near the riverbank, where the reeds whispered secrets at night and the earth smelled of damp memory. Each morning before the sun fully rose, Aiyana was already awake, splitting wood, hauling water, checking snares, tending fires that were not her own. The tribe depended on her, strength the way the land depended on rain, a constant, expected, unthanked. 6 months earlier, the last warmth had left her life. Tahoma, her younger brother, had always been small. Where Aiyana was built like stone, he was built like wind, quiet, thin, always smiling. When sickness came, it clung to him fiercely. For weeks, Aiyana carried him from shade to shade, fed him spoonful by spoonful, sang to him through the nights. She slept sitting upright so he could rest against her chest, listening to her heartbeat. On the final morning, as dawn cracked the horizon, Tahoma lifted his trembling hand and pressed it against her cheek. "You're my mountain," he whispered. Then his breath stopped. The sun rose anyway. After that day, no one touched her gently again. The morning ended. Life continued. But something essential was withdrawn from her like water from dry ground. People spoke to her only when they needed something lifted, carried, guarded, fixed. Children climbed on her back without asking. Elders pointed instead of thanking. She endured it all, because endurance was what she was known for. But at night, when the campfires dimmed and laughter softened into sleep, Aiyana lay awake staring at the lodge ceiling, feeling the ache of something unnamed pressing against her ribs. That evening, the sky turned the color of old blood. Storm clouds rolled in fast and low, swallowing the mountains. One of the elders gestured toward the ridge without meeting her eyes. Horses had wandered during the afternoon heat. Someone had to bring them back before the storm broke. Aiyana nodded, wrapped her blanket tight, and went alone as always. Rain fell hard and sudden, soaking the land in moments. Thunder cracked so close it rattled her bones. She moved steadily, boots sinking into mud, her breath calm despite the cold. Near the river's bend, something dark lay half submerged along the bank. At first she thought it was driftwood, then it moved. A man. He was big but not like her. Broad-chested, heavy with muscle, yet broken now, one leg twisted, blood streaking his face. White skin. Stranger. Enemy by every story she'd been taught. Aiyana froze as lightning split the sky. Leaving him would be easy, sensible, expected, no one would question it. The storm would finish what violence had started. The man coughed weakly, a sound pulled from deep pain. His eyes fluttered open just long enough to show fear. Not anger, not threat, just raw fear. He whispered something, maybe a name, maybe a prayer. The sound cut through her like a blade. Without fully understanding why, Aiyana stepped forward. She knelt, rain soaking her hair, and lifted him as if he were a child. He groaned but didn't resist. His weight settled against her chest, warm, human. She carried him far from the trail, to an old hunting shelter abandoned years ago. There she laid him down, cleaned his wounds with shaking hands, and built a fire that barely held against the rain. When she finally stepped back, her arms burned, not from effort, but from the unfamiliar closeness of another body. She told herself she would leave at dawn. Morning came pale and quiet. The storm had passed. Birds tested the air with cautious song. The man woke slowly, confusion giving way to alarm when he saw her towering silhouette. Instinctively, Aiyana stepped back, shoulders curling inward, used to fear. But he didn't scream. He didn't reach for a weapon. He swallowed and said hoarsely, You saved me." The words landed heavy in her chest. His name was Eli. A traitor, he said, attacked on the road and left behind. Over the next days, Aiyana brought him food and water. She never stayed long at first. But he talked, and she listened. He told stories of places beyond the mountains, of long roads and hard choices. He thanked her every time she returned. Not once did he call her monster. Not once did he stare at her strength with suspicion. On the fifth night, the fire burned low. Silence stretched between them, comfortable, dangerous. Eli noticed the way she stared into the flames. Distant, hollow. "You carry a lot alone," he said quietly. Aiyana's throat tightened. The truth slipped out before she could stop it. Barely louder than the crackling wood. "I haven't been loved in 6 months." The words felt unreal once spoken. Vulnerable, naked, she waited for pity, or mockery, or dismissal. Eli simply nodded, eyes gentle. "That's too long for anyone," he said. Something inside her broke open. For the first time since Tahoma died, Aiyana felt seen, not as strength, not as labor, but as a woman with a heart that still ached to be held, and she didn't yet know that this small, fragile connection would soon test everything she believed about herself, her people, and what love truly costs. If this chapter moved you, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. These stories exist to give voice to the unseen, and your support helps keep them alive.